now begins the first session. Everyone, please welcome, from CoinDesk, Mr. Benjamin Schiller, from Monex Group, Mr. Oki Matsumoto, and from Galaxy, Mr. Michael Novogratz.
Good morning, good morning. Thanks all for coming. Good crowd here, great to be here. Mr. Oki here, thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
And we're joined by the legendary Mike Novogratz, known as Novo to many. And I think I should point out
Good to be here, guys.
Good morning, good evening.
Hi, Mike.
Oki was my boss. Just remember that if he's mean to me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. How did you guys meet?
I was a young vice president at Goldman Sachs, and I was working in Tokyo in 1992 and 93, and Matsumoto-san was the big cheese. He was the big chief. He ran the derivative business, and I was just the sales guy. And so we worked very closely for a few years. It was a great time to be in Japan. The fixed income markets were really just coming of age. And so real exciting times, and I've known him for 33 years since.
Yep. It's kind of exciting.
What was your first impression of each other?
Mike, very interesting and rough guy.
And what about your journey into crypto? When did you get into crypto, and when did Mike get into crypto?
Well, in my case, so as Mike said, I was doing derivatives. Back in late 1980s, derivatives are really kind of new technology. Some people say that derivatives are really bad, and so it's new things tend to be called as something bad. And some people say that markets becomes too volatile or markets going down just because of derivatives, blah blah blah. But I went into that business, and it was really interesting. And then there are lots of innovation of regulations and technologies and such. So that I was doing derivatives, and then when I became to know about the crypto, it's in that sense a little bit similar. In the early days, people try to call it as something bad, but actually it is backed by great technology, and it will help the market and society in the long run. So that kind of brought me into the crypto. What about you, Mike?
So I was working at a company called Fortress, which was a big hedge fund and private equity company. And one of my partners called and asked me what I thought about Bitcoin, and this would have been in 2013. And so I Googled it, and I did a quick study and thought, you know what? There's a lot of people worried about inflation, right? We'd had the great financial crisis, and then we had the European financial crisis. We were doing QE2 in America, which was they were printing lots of money. Ben Bernanke was the Fed chair, and people were very worried about that. There are a lot of libertarians in the US and around the world, and people were getting very scared of governments, and the Chinese started buying it. And so I thought, here's this thing that's trading at 100 that could go to 1,000, so we should buy some. And I literally bought some kind of as a speculative trade, but made either the mistake or the great move of talking about it at a conference like this, and I ended up being on the cover of the Financial Times the next day, talking, Fortresses, Novogratz predicting Bitcoin will go to 1,000. It was the only time I've ever been on the cover of that newspaper. But because of that, I got asked to speak over and over. In that process, nothing is worse than standing in front of a crowd and feeling like a fool. And so it forced me to do a lot of homework. And I met all the people that were in and around the system to try to really understand why it was going to work or why it wouldn't work. And as I dug in, I realized it was something very, very unique, that it was the first private property that we ever had on the internet. And that was like the insight I had, that Satoshi Nakamoto in his white paper gave us private property on the internet. And capitalism doesn't exist without private property. Freedom doesn't exist without private property. And so it's a pretty important insight.
Absolutely. And when did you start Galaxy?
Galaxy we started in 2018. I had left Fortress. I was a family office. It's a very nice lifestyle. And I always said, I'm only going to go back to work if I can do three things. Work with young people. And this crypto revolution is a young person's revolution. Learn new things. I was learning venture capital. I hadn't been a venture capitalist. Now I think I've made 300 venture investments in my life. But I found that fascinating, meeting the people that were coming up with the new ideas and betting on the ones you liked. And then I would have something to add to the community, that I thought I could be the bridge between all these young people that sounded a little crazy and maybe give them some advice, and also all these old people that sounded very skeptical and maybe say, hey guys, there's something to learn. And so Galaxy was really set up to try to be that bridge between institutions and the crypto world.
Great. So, okay, you had one of the first IPOs. This was actually during the Gary Gensler Biden times, which seems like ancient history right now. You were quite early. It was Coinbase, and then it was you in December of last year. I mean, do you regret maybe not waiting till the kind of mania now that we're seeing around IPOs? And what is the kind of outlook, do you think, for IPOs on the capital markets?
Well, you know what? Nobody knows the future. I mean, it is easy to say something when you look back the past, but from the past, nobody knows the future, and nobody cannot predict the future. Only thing you can do is just move on. You take risk, and sometimes things happen before that event, or sometimes after the event. But we never knew that event meeting from Biden to the Trump or whatever, those kind of things to happen. So for me to wait something, it never happens.
Right.
For me.
And why did you choose NASDAQ rather than listing here?
I see. Apparently this Web3 blockchain business, crypto business, is global business. The talents, capital, technologies, it just exists in the globe, not in Japan, but in the globe. And also business-wise, for example, like a typical, for example, equity broker business, even you acquire the online brokers in the world. The stock exchange are different, country by country. Depository corporation different. Everything different. And all regulations are different. But in crypto, liquidity provider and the security, the technology, everything the same. So all business stacks are the same. Only the last 1 mile, the regulation relating to how to deal with retail may be different, country by country. But all other business stacks are the same. So there's a huge synergy effect you can pursue in this business globally as well. So on those 2 points, this business has to, we have to try to do business globally. And this business, as you know, the bank don't lend money. And so if this business try to grow, either the business creates money, make profit, and then use that profit to grow the business, or you do the equity finance. Once you are listed, you can use stocks to acquire companies. So we believe that we need to be listed. And then since the business and talents, everything are global, we need to have a global kind of currency, which is US NASDAQ stock. It's not a TSE trading stock. It's a US NASDAQ stock. Trading stock is the universal language to acquire talents and business. So that's why we meant to get listed on US NASDAQ.
Absolutely. So we've seen some quite successful IPOs this year, including Circle and Bullish, which is the parent company of CoinDesk. Are you expecting to see many more IPOs this year? And why do you think companies like that are taking the IPO route rather than some other routes they might have taken? Mike?
Well, listen, I think we went public as well, and it's been a great thing. I think the thing we've learned with Bullish, with Circle, ourselves, and more importantly now with all these treasury companies, is that there are a lot more equity investors in the world at this point than crypto investors. And so NASDAQ opening up in the post-Gensler era is really widening the aperture for people that can look at crypto. And so you see like these Ethereum treasury companies, right? BNMR and SBET, just bringing in tons of capital and buying tons of Ethereum and really, in essence, investing in the ecosystem in a scale that we hadn't had when it was just crypto. And I think there had been 4 years of no IPOs other than Oki's, and there's a pent-up demand, and you're seeing that satisfied here a little while. I think the other really interesting lesson that I learned watching first Circle and then Bullish is that those two companies gave very large allocations to retail. And crypto started and remains a revolution of the little guy. And while we're bringing institutions into it really quickly, from BlackRock all the way down, the DNA of crypto still is the little man's revolution. It is the retail revolution. It was the democratization of finance. It means that if I'm worth $50 or 50 million, I should have the same access to good products, that I should be able to cut out the middleman, that things should be transparent and fair. And so those tenets is why I used to call crypto a revolution, right? You don't call most market trends a revolution, but crypto felt something far more emotional and visceral and deep with the people that got involved in it. And it's why these communities are like ecosystems. They're almost like mini religions. If you talk to a Bitcoiner, he's a Bitcoin maxi, he orange pills people, and he has a whole language around his community. And that community is what's created lots of value. And now we're starting to see that spread into the equity markets. It's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. So most people would say we're in the kind of white heat of the bull market at the moment. Do you expect that to continue? I'm interested in the price of ETH at the moment. It was only 6 weeks ago that the price of ETH was in, quote unquote, in the toilet, and everyone was talking about the kind of lengthy roadmap and how it was, underwater. And now it's like doubled in price, more than doubled. Is that sustainable in your mind? Are you expecting prices to keep rising going forward? You want to take that, Oki?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about the the assets in the world, it's only gold and Bitcoin, whereby, the Bitcoin is like a digital gold. The amount of the issuance is limited, and it doesn't have the correlation with the central bank's balance sheet. And so it is very natural for people to think about using Bitcoin as a new kind of reserve currency or reserve asset in addition to the gold. When I acquired CoinCheck back in 2018, the market cap of Bitcoin versus market cap of gold was maybe 2%. Today it's like 8% or 10%. And going forward, now the China or Russia central banks are selling US Treasury and buying gold and Bitcoin. And the Trump administration does keep the Bitcoin. So, the central banks will allocate more to the Bitcoin. And also, as Mike said, young people, those people will think about the Bitcoin as one way of reserving wealth away from the, fiat. So I think Bitcoin will continue to be naturally stronger in the long run. The gold last 100 years. I guess it's 100 years. It became 100 times against US dollar. Okay, so that kind of long-term trend will be, I believe, the case for the Bitcoin as well. And the Ether, of course, when you think about the utility of Ethereum blockchain, there are lots of value for that. So those two assets, I would say that there will be some bumpy road potentially, but in the long run, it's very, very bullish.
Right, but I'm personally a little skeptical about ETH because, as I said, there was this conversation not long ago that ETH was not reflective of whatever activity was taking place in the mainnet of Ethereum. So how come we've seen the price of ETH go up so dramatically in the last 6 weeks? Is that all to do with digital asset treasuries, or are there other reasons for that, do you think, Mike?
I would think it's almost solely to do with the digital asset treasuries. Remember, prices in everything are set on the margin. And what I mean by that is, we hit an equilibrium in price. It could be the price of oil. And if you've got new sellers or new buyers, it moves the price up until we hit a new equilibrium. And you look at just the tremendous buying that Tom Lee and BNMR and Joe Lubin and SFIT have done. It adds up to about $11 billion of buying of Ethereum. And that just, while it moved the market, I think $150 billion, that's kind of the normal ratio, right? You're moving prices up to hit a clearing level. And as long as that velocity of money keeps coming in, prices keeps going up. Now listen, we've moved pretty far, and I think 5,000 is going to be a formidable top for a little while, right? We'll bounce off it a few times. That might be it for a little while before we take it out. And when we take it out, all of a sudden people will be talking about 10,000. But that doesn't happen in a straight line. And so now we're in this, wow, we just went from 2,000 to 5,000. Lots of people are taking profits. Some are buying their girlfriends' wedding rings, and some are buying their friends' dinners, depending on how many ETH they had. But you're always going to see some profit taking in after a run like this. But it certainly was that money coming in through the treasury companies. I guess the other thing I'd say is the Circle IPO really helped Ethereum in that it brought all these eyes to the fact that after the Genius Act, stable coins are going to be a big part of the world for a long time. And AI is going to communicate through stable coins, not through sending wires. You're going to buy groceries. Your AI agent will buy your groceries sending a stable coin. And so all of that is going to be done on blockchains. And right now, Ethereum is probably the leading blockchain. You've also got Solana, Hyperliquid. There are lots of competitors, right? Tron. But Ethereum is the kind of the granddaddy of those blockchains.
Great. So we talked about the past a little bit and the current market. I'm wondering how you see the future fusion of the decentralized space and the more TradFi institutional space. How do you see this kind of confluence coming together?
Well, people talk about TradFi versus kind of DeFi today, but probably in the near future, people won't talk about it. I mean, at the end of the day, the capital markets products, it's a data and formula, data and code. And the blockchain is the database, and it's data and the code. So all financial transactions or products can be expressed by blockchain. And as Mike said, with the stable coin and the AI, many things will be expressed in token. And then, so I believe in the near future, I don't see any difference between TradFi and the DeFi. It will merge just as a finance. As like used to be, people used paper for the stock or the bond. Do you know that U.S. Treasury notes used to be a paper, and there's a coupon like semi-annual coupon was the how do you say the edge of the paper, and then people using scissors they cut the coupon and then went to the Treasury and received the coupon money. So that was a paper, and now it became digital. Similarly, everything will become tokenized. So then, TradFi, DeFi, everything will become, I believe, the same.
Do you think everything will become tokenized, Mike? Are you expecting the stock market to be tokenized?
I think you're going to see, we are going to announce, I think tomorrow, Galaxy being tokenized on the solid state, platform, which is created by Robert Leshner, one of the crypto OGs. It's a sandbox kind of experiment, but that's going to go really quick to starting to trade on decentralized exchanges. You're going to see, Hyperliquid's got a cousin that's going to start trading perpetual equities on most of the big names you see. And so market makers, as they move to decentralized exchanges, are going to start trading tokenized equities in perp form and in token form. And so it's going to happen, and it's going to happen faster than you think. And once we get used to that, once we get used to things living in our wallets as opposed to our accounts, I think it's going to go from real slow to real fast.
And I think that, I'm very interested in the Canton network. The currently the stable coins, it's like a certificate. It's IOUs, right? But the Canton, what they do is they create a native on-chain digital asset, okay, which can be used as a collateral, blah, blah, blah. It can change the world in a big way. So including those stuff, there will be more and more new technology and interesting technology or idea will come. And then I think the entire finance world will be rewritten using those new technologies and ideas. And it would only increase the interoperability, and it's good for the economy as well. So it should be good.
I mean, from the consumer or the investor point of view, what is the main advantage of tokenization, do you think? From the investor point of view,
one of the advantages is you're going to get the democratization of finance. You're going to see young kids in Cambodia or Zimbabwe on their phones owning a small piece of SoftBank or of Apple stock or of Galaxy. I hope they own Galaxy.
Or CoinCheck.
Or CoinCheck.
Or CoinCheck.
Yeah.
CoinCheck, yeah.
And I think that's just going to be part of the future. And so you're going to have a much broader distribution of opportunity and of assets. The second piece is the ease of transfer of non-traditional assets. Let's say it's a share in a private equity fund. Right now, if I want to sell some of my private equity fund, it's a huge, lengthy process with lots of paperwork and permissions, as opposed to I've got a tokenized piece of it and I just sell it. And so I think you're going to see a lot more liquidity and hence higher price, right? With liquidity comes price.
Any other categories of asset that you see coming on chain in the next couple of years? I mean, real estate, artwork, anything else that we might not have thought of?
I think you're going to start with equities and you're going to go to fixed income and then funds. I think real estate's going to take a lot longer because in general, people own their own own their own house, or it's hard to care about. Remember, liquidity happens around things that we can care about in common, right? We all understand Apple stock or even Bitcoin. So there's lots of liquidity in those things. But if it's the fourth floor of an office building in Tokyo, who cares about that building other than the people that live in it? And so why am I going to buy that? You might finally get liquidity in those kind of discrete assets when it's all done by bots, by big AI computers algorithmically trying to make fair prices. But I don't think that will ever get the hearts and minds of people. In order to get liquidity, you need hearts and minds, you need energy, you need focus. And so I don't think everything can have liquidity.
Not only those the big assets, but also I think that the points, the mileages or hotel points, loyalty points. I mean, Japan is a huge points-loving country, a huge amount of points. I think, I believe it will become tokenized in the near future. I mean, people try to, how do you say, convert, say, ANA mileage points to Takashimaya loyalty points, but it's really a lengthy process, and then operators are doing a kind of batch type of things, and then it's crazily nuisance. But once it's tokenized, interoperability will skyrocket, and then also the conversion formula is embedded to the token, and then it can move on just automatically. It just makes sense. It's actually very big. That the points, loyalty points market are huge. So I think that will become tokenized very naturally in the future. So from those points to the real estate, in the many places, we will see some conversion going forward, I think.
I'm interested in the regulatory situation in the US and how that might be affecting a market like Japan. How do you see that? Obviously, the Trump administration has put forward a number of very helpful pieces of legislation with the Genius Act and now the Clarity Act and others. What is the ripple effect of that in a market like Japan?
Well, I think the Japanese regulators need to wake up. They try to come up with the Japan version of regulation, but it doesn't make any sense at all anymore. Especially, like Mike said, with AI. Now, Japanese just talk to the GPT, say in Japanese, I'm interested in this kind of tokenized security somewhere. I just want to buy them, and then GPT will find out. That service provider in a certain country, and then we'll open the account on behalf of the owner, user, and open the account and then convert yen into that currency and then just boom, buy them. Okay, but so it will happen. It is happening, and it will happen. Once it happens, for Japan to have a different regulation for anything, for the digital economy things, not only crypto, but also but also for the traditional finance as well. For Japan to have different regulation doesn't make any sense at all, because users can use any service in the world by using AI. And then if Japan doesn't change the regulation, Japanese government cannot protect Japanese consumers, and Japanese government cannot grow the business in Japan. So they should really wake up, and it has to make regulation completely playing field to the most advanced country in the world.
Right.
So that's, I really think that is the case.
Mike, do you expect to see harmonization across the world of crypto regulation eventually?
I actually think this is going to sound very US-centric, and we were horrible with regulation for the last 6 years. But now that the US is becoming so aggressive, it almost leapfrogged everyone, and the US regulation will end up being the standard. It's just the way things work. And so I think you're going to see other countries fall in line behind what the US does.
You know what, by the way, Mike and I used to work with Gary Gensler.
Right. What was he like back then? He was supposed to be a fan of crypto before he came to the SEC, and then he became this bête noire.
No comment.
Yeah.
Anyway, yep.
Did he foresee Gary Gensler being the Gary Gensler that we know today? Mike?
Gary was and is unbelievably hardworking, one of the hardest working guys I ever met. He is unbelievably smart, but he always thought he was smarter than everybody else. And that can that can be a trait in life that causes you trouble. Because of that, he wasn't always the most well-liked guy. he was respected but not liked in lots of the jobs he was in. You know, he did a fine job at Goldman Sachs in what he did, but I think somehow in this last job, and even the job before, he got a little big for his britches and got a little too political and missed the big picture. He really blew it. He understood it and he blew it.
Yep.
All right, we have 5 minutes left. I was wondering if you could sort of scope out a kind of blue sky picture of the future. What is it going to look like? Tell us, give us a prediction that we might not have expected, something surprising for crypto. What are you looking forward to seeing?
The question one more time.
5 more minutes.
Well, I guess, I don't know. So as I said, there are so many the registration things, like real estate registration. There are so many registration work in the world that can be replaced by tokenization. The accounting is the heavy amount of work to relabel the money. This money, at certain dollars, is used for this. But if we use the tokenized money, then from the beginning, the money itself knows for what I am used, right? So that will completely wipe out the accounting desk's work.
Right.
Right, so we can see and also no risk, no mistake, and then people can spend more time on something more, valuable.
So we'll have real-time, transparent, on-chain accounting systems.
Yeah.
Right.
So that will happen, or that could happen. So I think I'm just excited. The question is how to utilize this technology and concept.
Mike, can you give us one more prediction?
Yeah, I think, listen, we're going to have ups and downs in this, right? There's a lot of the market right now that feels frothy, both stocks and crypto. And so I don't think everyone should expect up and to the right forever. That said, with each of the big surges of capital into our space, more and more gets built. And the next chapter for crypto is you're going to finally see stuff that we use to make our lives better appear. Like, I don't think crypto will have succeeded in its mission unless in 4 or 5 years' time on your iPhone, you're buying your tickets, you're moving, your social media graph, your social graph is decentralized, right? We need to move from a world of tokens that promise to do things to tokens that make life better for people. And all this money coming in, that's going to fund that R&D that makes that possible. And I see we're kind of right at the brink of that.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Novo, Oki, and that's it. Thank you.
Guys,
Okay.
thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mike.
Oki, great seeing you again.
Good talking to you.
Hi, ありがとうございました。Thank you very much, Mr. Schiller, Mr. Matsumoto, and Mr. Novogratz. それではこれより記念写真の撮影を行いますので、お二人はどうぞステージ中央の方にお願いいたします。Okay, we'll have a photo shoot with Mr. Matsumoto and with Mr. Schiller. 会場の皆さんもよろしければどうぞ携帯カメラをお取りになりまして写真撮影を行ってください。Big smile, there we go. はい、いただきました。ありがとうございました。Sorry, one more photo. Can we have one more photo? Thank you very much. Great, thank you very much. Mr. Schiller, Mr. Matsumoto, and taking part online, Mr. Novogratz. Thank you very much. もう一度大きな拍手をお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。